Hello, I am Judah Bernard with the Rise Creating a Voice. We are back here for Sunday Jewels on the Rise. We are looking forward to you coming in. Our topic today is It's Complicated. What are your triggers? The important part is we need to identify our triggers each and every day because it is more than enough to know something that we should be doing on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes we need to be doing it hourly. We're going to have our co-host come on in. How you doing, Rhonda? We have a topic for them today, don't we?
Hey.
So we are talking about it's complicated. What are your triggers? I want to just reintroduce myself. I am Judah Bernard with the Rise Creating Your Voice podcast, but me and Rhonda is on for Sunday Jewels on the Rise. Here every Sunday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Rhonda, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself while we get started and things like that, let's go.
Hey, like he said, my name is Rhonda, and I am the owner and CEO of Jules Mentoring LLC. And with Jules Mentor, I am a self-development agency, and I offer services of mentoring and life coaching, where I am a certified life coach, and I'm a licensed social worker. I have a love to help people succeed and get to the place where they need to be in life and fulfill their purpose. I also have my own podcast called Dinner and Dialogue, where we talk about relationships and different aspects of people on there. I also do workshops called Lessons with LaRonda, and I've written my own journal called Journey Along the Way, Becoming Authentically Me.
So I want you guys to go ahead and get her journal and everything that you guys heard her say. But we want to come on in and talk about actual triggers. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
You want to go ahead and start off and we get this thing rolling. But then again, I have some, information on my side, but I want you to start it out. What are triggers?
Triggers are those little small indicators. It helps you realize that something is wrong. For me, I know when something triggers me, I take a notion to shut down. I don't. Some people have triggers and they make them act out. But however it is, it causes you to behave in a way that you normally wouldn't behave. Um, for me, I know when I'm triggered, I cry, and I tend to shut down. Like I said, shut down, and I want to look back and blame myself. But then I have to realize, Run, this may not be a. It was not wrong. So I have to look at within and see, why did this thing bother me so much? So triggers are those little things that cause your behavior to alter, and you really need to look at those triggers to see, okay, why is this affecting me? So that's my definition of triggers.
So I went on because I went to mental health, and it says triggers are external events or circumstances that may produce very uncomfortable emotional or psychiatric symptoms, such as anxiety, panic, discouragement, despair, or self-harm.
Yes.
Reacting to trigger is normal, but if we don't recognize them and respond to them appropriately, they may actually cause a downward spiral, making us feel worse. We want to make sure that you're able to, number one, identify those triggers.
Yes.
Also, identify onset and acknowledge that it is a trigger. Most of us don't acknowledge it's a trigger. We'll just get upset and then leave it alone.
Yeah.
And now you're wondering why you're upset. Because you never identified what that trigger was.
True.
So we're going to go straight into it. And I want people to understand that this has some biblical perspectives too. The one thing is, we have to understand the emotion of Jesus Christ, that the Bible makes it very clear that Jesus took upon himself the nature of a servant, a man in the flesh. This is why he understood our emotions. Nonetheless, he guarded his emotions and never allowed them to carry him into sin. He is the perfect example of how good and controlled emotions benefit our lives. He was emotional on many occasions, but his emotions were appropriate and always under control. The point is this: it's okay to be emotional if we handle it like the Lord did. So, what does that mean?
You know, a lot of time it's kind of hard to handle it like Jesus did because of the standard that he set. Because we want to, even though he was in human form, he still had he was all God. So there was just a different level of him that a lot of us we're aiming to get there. And a lot of times, what I'm learning, we don't even know that they're triggers. We just think that we're getting mad, or we just think that we're getting sad, or we're just shutting down. Until you get to a place where you can understand that this behavior is not normal, and I need and you can't keep blaming people for your anger. That anger comes from something, and most likely it's something from inside of you, and not the person who said something or did something that made you angry. The person triggered you with what they said and with what they did. And so if we're going to respond emotionally like Jesus, we first have to be Christ-like. And in order to be Christ-like, that means that you're going to have to study what Christ was and how
Right.
Christ did things. And that's going to take you taking time to do that, which a lot of people, including myself, it can be very challenging when you have so much going on. So it's going to have to be a decision you make to understand who is Christ, what was Christ like, what was his characteristics, what was his fruits of the spirit. And once you learn those things, then you'll be able to respond as he responded. And it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of work to get to that place, but you have to be prepared as you go. And when the triggers come, you're going to have to be willing to sit with yourself to self evaluate to see, why did that bother me so bad? And once you have an in the Bible it says, in all thy getting, get an understanding. And once you understand the trigger, you will be able to explore it more and be healed from the trigger, and it no longer will hurt you.
So I think for me, because I know when I look at triggers, I understand that sometimes it takes emotional intelligence.
And availability, because some people are emotionally closed.
Yes. So how do we do some common triggers? And I want to name some common triggers. The anniversary dates of losses or trauma.
Yes.
Frightening news events.
Yes.
Too much to do, feeling overwhelmed.
Yes.
Family friction.
Yes.
The end of a relationship.
Yes.
Spending too much time alone.
Yep.
Being judged, criticized, teased, or put down.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big one. Financial problems. Getting a big bill.
Yeah, because some people want to live a bit beneath, above their means, and when
Right.
start talking about money, they get mad real quick.
Yes. Physical illness.
Mm-hmm.
Sexual harassment. Being yelled at.
Mm-hmm.
Aggressive sounding noises or exposure to anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. That's probably me. I hate aggressive sounding noises. Being around someone who's treated you badly. And
Mm-hmm.
we've probably all been in that. And certain smells, tastes, and noises. And that's another one of my triggers too, as well. Certain smells, taste, or noises. So I think in that list, where do you fit in there? And that's definitely for the studio audience, because what we need to understand and what you need to understand, what is actually your trigger. It's complicated, but sometimes we can't identify what that trigger was. And the number one thing is, as I tell people, as I mentor them, things like, sometimes it hasn't been a trigger for so long that you stop identifying it
And
was,
it is a trigger. Mm-hmm.
and then it becomes something else because it's a compounded trigger that you haven't identified or acknowledged, and you haven't moved from that trigger, so you trying to call it something else so it won't hurt you no more.
Called defense mechanism.
Yeah, fight or flight.
Yeah, you start defending yourself when it gets to that place. And from my personal testimony, from like I was telling you yesterday, betrayal is a huge trigger for me.
Yes.
And I did not understand how much betrayal was a huge trigger for me. I mean, you brought it out yesterday, but we neither here or there. But usually when people mistreat me or they take advantage of me or they do something to me, I would just walk away and shut down and not have anything else to do with them.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I was okay with that. And so I just played it off. And so I would just keep packing it in and packing it in and packing it in. But when a situation took place this week and I realized I was taken advantage of, and I started feeling really, really bad. Like, I didn't deserve this. Why is this happening to me when all I want to do is see people succeed? Like, why would somebody willingly misuse or, take advantage of me in that way? And so it bothered me for like 2 or 3 days. Like, I just cried and I was like in this mode. And then one day it clicked and I was like, Rhonda, what is this? And so I'm trying to figure out what it is that what happened to me triggered me. So it wasn't just what happened was just that bad, but it was like it triggered me so bad that I felt like it was that bad. And so, but once I identified what it was, I was able to explore and walk away from it. But if had not I figured out the trigger, I would continue to walk away from people and shutting down and not get to the root of the issue. And you have to learn to get to the root of the issues. And if not, you're going to keep being triggered by things and you have no understanding of it. But in order to do that, you're going to have to open yourself up emotionally to receive when it comes, because like I said a while ago, so many times we are emotionally unavailable that we don't even know how to receive when those things come. And you like our defenses to shut down, to cuss somebody out, to get angry, to throw something. All these things are triggers of inside deeper issues, and you have to be willing to open yourself up to receive things emotionally to get to the healing process of that. Just my opinion.
And I like that opinion because the number one thing is we need to acknowledge something is happening.
Yeah.
We need to acknowledge it. And I think the big part is how do we act upon it?
It depends on where you are in life and what growth you have succeeded in. So if you haven't took the time to succeed in it, it's going to affect you differently than it's going to affect me. Like if the situation that happened to me this week would have happened in 2018, I would have been totally different. It would have been a totally different response than it was in 2022. Because even after it happened and I felt so bad, I still was able to show Christ's love.
Right.
Even though my flesh didn't want to show Christ's love, I had to move flesh out the way and give the word that Christ would want me to give. And then I had to deal with my stuff on the back part, because at that moment the person didn't need to be shut down or cussed out or hit. That didn't need to happen at that moment. So I had to give what Christ had given me and then go deal with my stuff later. But I do understand now, it wasn't him per se. It was something more that could have happened in childhood or whatever that caused the turmoil inside of me. But nevertheless, I realize now that triggers are just simply hidden blessings, but I'm open to receive that. But someone that's not open to receive that is not going to receive it the way I will receive it. Like if you just not coming into your healing process, then you probably going to cuss somebody out or hit
Right.
or stone or do something in a negative way because you don't understand. And we perish for what? The lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge.
Once you have knowledge and wisdom, you handle emotions and things differently.
And what does that mean? Because I think most people think that I gotta be a know-it-all. I'm supposed to do this and I'm supposed to do, that I should. So I think people need to understand that wisdom is exactly what it is. And it's your particular wisdom. It's not a comparison about who is smarter, if you're smarter,
Mhm.
all that stuff. What is the wisdom? What is the experience learned from this situation? What is the knowledge of moving you forward? And I think many people try to talk about it, but then again, in their wisdom, sometimes they go beyond of competing against someone too as well.
And people need to understand wisdom is simply applied knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So I know people can read books, they can hear things, and they know the knowledge of things. And they can speak like they just proficient in things. But baby, if it's not applied to your life, it's just knowledge. And you said what you are obesity or like just full of knowledge. But
Right,
applied knowledge is wisdom. So that means the knowledge that I have, I'm going to apply it and I'm going to be better. But it takes time to do that because you have to do the work and consciously think of what you're doing.
yeah,
Life experiences and the biblical, all those things relate to each other. For me, I relate the Bible to my life. I
right,
look at those stories and I be like, well, how did this relate to Rhonda personally? And how can I apply this to be better in in my life and in situations? But people sit on knowledge every day, but that don't mean that they apply it. So your wisdom is how you perceive your knowledge and what you get from your knowledge and from your life experiences. And it's going to be totally different from me. But at the end of the day, logic is logic and it's going to work for everybody. But how it works for everybody is different.
And someone said in the chat, that's why I get frustrated with jobs that are based on certification and not on wisdom. I understand in certification, that's a base test kind of situation that is, they should have the knowledge, but some people can pass a good certification
Yeah.
and not have the wisdom to perform the job. So guess what? AKA too sweet. Let me tell you. Don't get frustrated because you ain't had a job. Guess what? God already has something for you. That wasn't for you. Don't get frustrated.
Yep.
There's a win-win and say, you know what? That wasn't for me. Do you know how many jobs that I have not gotten because of what my name is? Or when I walk into a room and they see that I'm African American.
Yeah.
So I always counted that my wealth as that wasn't for me. That wasn't for me. That was not for me. So what we're hearing saying, number one, we have to acknowledge there's a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
What's the application of acknowledging that trigger? What's the action if we're not ready to acknowledge that trigger? And then again, what's the application that we can go back and do for that? And I think what I want to get people to understand that triggers can have an action. So you have to understand that sometimes you can catch yourself when you know you trigger.
When you grow to learn yourself more.
Yes.
Because some people,
Rhonda, everybody get mad. Come on now.
but you know what? No one can make you mad unless
That
you
part.
allow them to
Yeah.
make you mad. So if someone makes you mad, then that is a trigger inside you. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the other person because if what the person said has no benefit to you, you're not gonna think about it two times. But
Mm-hmm.
see, but what happens is it's something inside you that what they said or did that's not corrected or healed. So therefore it triggered you to get angry. But is that the other person's fault? Or did you need to hear what the other person said so you can work on the anger that you're dealing with?
Right.
Because the anger is not normal. I mean, I know we get angry. Jesus got angry, but how did he deal with his anger? And
Yes.
so we can't allow what people do and say to determine or dictate our emotions on every day, because that gives them people control over us. You
Right.
don't want people to have control over you. You want to be able to control yourself, because that way when you control yourself, your character will be seen and you don't know who's out there watching you. So
Right.
you have to be able to apply that knowledge so you don't be bombarded and rushed with, because when you get on that platform, people gonna say a whole lot of stuff that you don't like. But in order to be successful on that platform, you have to be prepared for it. And so if you're not prepared for it, your emotions, what could destroy your
Yeah.
blessing if
Yeah.
you don't get yourself together emotionally and handle these things effectively.
AKA Too Sweet said, everyone is not a good test taker, and you get eliminated because of a test. Black people, especially, we have lots of knowledge because we struggle through a lot and learn from it. That is so well. A lot of people have anxiety tests. I totally agree with you. But then again, like I tell people, if you know you have anxiety as a test taker, start practicing taking tests at home.
Mm-hmm.
Start lowering that anxiety. Start lowering it.
Mm-hmm.
Start identifying what those triggers are in anxiety. Maybe it was something that happened in your high school, elementary, or something like that, where a teacher probably hit you over the back with a ruler. We don't know. But some triggers are like that. I remember my teacher used to hit us across the back and we slouched over. That's why I have such proper posture now. You know, bam, you know, you're like, whoa, like it just gets, you gotta sit up. But that was back in the day. Brooklyn Babe says, catching yourself while being triggered is a sign of working towards overcoming it. That is so true. So I think what we want to do is definitely, if someone want to come up, take a small break and just look at what those triggers are and probably talk about your triggers. So if you want to come in on the platform right now, this is your opportunity. We're going to give you that opportunity to come on and say, how are you working on your triggers? But if it's complicated, you come on and say, look, I can't work on them. Judah and Rhonda, can y'all help me? Come on, here to give you this free information, because number one is you can do an action plan too as well, where you can do, if a trigger come up,
Mm-hmm.
you can comfort yourself and keep your reactions from becoming more serious symptoms. One thing that I did when I was triggered, I count from 10 down in my mind, not in front of somebody, but you know, you just give yourself to calm down, because understand, people that have loud voices and different noises, and when they're talking about something, I immediately don't shut down. I stop listening. So I can make sure that I calm myself down if it's going beyond my broken realm, because I understand what my veil is. So if it's going too far, I will remove myself out of the conversation. Because the thing is, I don't argue or confess to continue to hear them. What I do is try to pull myself out of it so my feelings and emotions will not get aroused by what
Mm-hmm.
they're saying to me. Although many times they're wrong, and I just listen to them. But we keep moving. So I think for me is count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And you can take your time. And you can still be engaged in the conversation, but mentally, you need to relax your mind, because it can bombard you, especially if you're at a fast-paced job and you're doing different things too as well. So,
Yeah. For me, now in the past I was shut completely down. I would not talk.
mm,
Um, but now I have learned to say I need time away, or I have learned to just say okay. And sometimes that's all I have is okay, because I'm
yeah,
not finna argue. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to make things worse than what they are. I'm going to say okay. I'll talk to you later. Like, you pretty much move myself from the situation.
right.
Then I'm going to have to go sit with myself for a minute and think, is what they said right? Because constructive criticism is good if it's for growth and it's for you. So
Mm,
what I've learned to do is go sit with myself to see what they said, examine myself to see, Rhonda, is this really, you? If it's me, then I'm going to do the work I need to do to change it. But if this is you projecting your issues on me, I'm going to throw the bone away. So I've learned to eat the meat and throw away the bone because all of it ain't for me. Okay?
I like that analogy. I like that. But we also have to understand that we have to look at what worked for us in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not working for you in the past, what are you doing to learn from others and refer back to building a wellness toolbox? How many of us have a wellness toolbox? Get you one.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Because the thing is, if we want to become well, we have to make sure that we have a backup kit. I call it emergency first aid kit.
For self.
For self. Emergency first aid kit for self. So I know what my trigger may be, and my thing is I will either drink water or tea. That's my emergency kit. I bring lots of water with me. Lots and lots of water. I probably have about 6 bottles just with me because I know that sometimes people in the cells are triggers for me.
Yeah.
And me drinking the water gives me a chance to digest whatever they just said.
And I chew gum. I know another trigger for me is I cannot stand for people to tell me something over and over and over and over and over. Like that bothers me so bad. Cause it makes me feel like you think I'm incompetent or I don't understand, like I'm dumb or something. I don't know. But it bothers me so bad. And I have to when someone does that, I have to sit still for about a couple of seconds and be like, okay, Rhonda, they got anxiety. And so I had to think myself through it so I don't get so frustrated where when they call me the next time, I'm like, what the you want? So yeah, so I'm learning, chew my gum, calm down, calm down. Because when you tell me something 5 or 6 times within an hour, yeah, I'm about ready to cuss you out. But I've learned to just sit still for a moment, and I
Right.
have to put that person in front of my face and be like, well, Rhonda, they dealing with this, they got this going on, and they just want to make sure that everything goes well. And then that kind of helps me calm down so I don't be so irritated because I don't want to seem, bitchy to people because I'm triggered by you doing this. So and another thing is, you have to acknowledge, right? We talked about acknowledge and tell someone when you don't have to tell me
Right.
over and over again. So you have to know yourself enough to tell people,
right.
Okay, I don't need that. So once you tell me, I pretty much got it. Like, I'm going to write it down. I got it. You don't have to tell me what paperwork to get signed. You don't have to tell me blah, blah, blah. If I tell you to remind me, then remind me, but don't constantly tell me over and over again. And so, knowing yourself and, like we said, knowing your triggers will help you have conversations with people to let them know exactly what it is you need and don't need.
And Brooklyn Bay 561 said, I've learned to talk when the opportunity presents itself, and it always does. I do agree. And I am a
I
client.
do believe it will.
AKA Tuesday said, my mom taught me that when someone push your button, move your button so they won't get to your trigger point. I like that. I like that.
But and sometimes you need those triggers because
Yeah,
it's going to show you where something needs healing and you need to grow from.
right.
So I think the triggers are good when they're handled appropriately.
Mm-hmm. And Houston said, take what you need, leave what you don't.
Eat the meat, throw away the bone.
Right. A soft answer turneth away wrath. I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And they said at the bottom, self-control. And I think that's the number one key. How are we in our wellness toolbox taking care of self?
For me, self-control is just sitting still, learning that I need to take a break. But see, everybody has not mastered self-control.
Oh no.
And everybody really don't even know what self-control is, because they think just because I ain't cussing you out, I'm controlled. So self-control kind of goes with self-care. And so you setting with yourself, like, now I'm at the place where I like to drink a little cup of wine to calm my nerves. You know, I got a little drink of wine, calm my nerves. But I ain't no drunk. I don't drink all the time. But sometimes taking self-care and learning yourself so intimately that you can control yourself, because once you know the value that you have and you know the stamina that you possess, the vibe that you carry, there's just certain things you're not going to allow yourself to do. There's just certain people you're not going to allow to get to you in that way. Why? Because I am better than this. I know my power. I know what I possess, and I don't have time to dwell in your stuff. So just, and you're going to carry that certain type of self-control because you know your identity, and you're not going to engage in those things. But that's, again, taking time to be with yourself, to learn yourself, to learn your value. If that means you take a drink of wine, then drink you some wine. If that means you go take a long bubble bath and with Epsom, with that stress Epsom salt or calming, whatever you need to do to your mind, to put them candles around that tub. One thing that I've learned that really helps settle me, that I never thought would, is meditation music.
Yes.
And so I've learned to play meditation music and just sit there and calm my mind and get to a calmness where I can focus and realize where it is where I am and what do I need to change, or how can I become better. My goal in life is to, you can't change other people, but you can change you. So if I can change my vibe and my energy, then it may help somebody else change their vibe and their energy. So it's just all about managing yourself with self-care and just taking care of yourself the best way you know how. Because can't nobody tell you how to do that but you. Right. Like now, I had to get a moment away from home and just be by myself peacefully, but that's where I am.
And some people say that they're now learning a Peloton bike ride, and meditation keeps me sane. And said breathing with my eyes closed helps to settle the mind. Yes. Yes. And I think what people, and they said Judah has great methods I've learned in his podcast. Oh, thank you. So my whole thing was, the podcast is about creating yourself, and these are more jewels and nuggets for you guys on the rise, because basically Miss Rhonda has some good techniques and skills too. And a lot of these are life experience. So what are you going through each and every day? What are you going through each and every day where you continue to learn, continue to manifest, but then again, pull yourself back? And one thing I tell people all the time, that me as Judah, I had to turn myself inside out.
Identity switch.
I had the good, bad, and the ugly. Because the thing is, if I keep saying it right here and not working with the emotions inside of me, the guilt, the shame that's sitting in my heart, the unforgiveness that's sitting in my lung.
Self-forgiveness.
That's it. The thing is, what you got to understand, that most of the time that you will be sitting there and you will get sick. You just sit there and pour so much negative energy to your body that it's not going to sustain your body.
Yep. That's true.
So I want us to make sure that in it, let's get some an action plan for our triggers. Make sure you do everything on a daily maintenance list. Sometimes we get bogged down.
I think everybody should give themselves 15 to 30 minutes a day.
This is my daily log.
Oh my God.
Because we can become so overwhelmed that if we don't write it down, you're going to lose it. So that's good for me. I have whiteboards in here and everything. I got a whiteboard with my face, and sometimes I bring down a big old whiteboard that I have to put things together because my job is demanding.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to keep up with them, I have to physically see it. I'm a visual learner.
Mm-hmm.
So understand what that means too as well. Call a support person and ask them to listen when you talk through a situation. Now let me be clear when I say a support person.
Please.
Let me be very clear. Don't call your girlfriend so she can hear your part, and then if it's about your man, she take your man from you. That's not a support person.
No.
Don't call somebody and then next thing you know, your business on Channel 9 News.
Okay.
I think what we still have to understand is support means that person actually listens to you and able to identify in that situation and does not set a judgment zone and able to walk you through the situation as if they were you and help you to identify, because one thing is, and we know that in it, we are emotionally triggered by telling someone.
Yep.
And we can become upset if they ask too many questions.
Yep.
So what is the next thing that we need to do? We need to identify that something is wrong. But in that, we got to keep moving. We got to keep moving to an end result in an end situation. One of the things they say, do a half-hour relaxation exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I know me, I just lay in the bed. Like, what about you, Rhonda? I'm like, let me just lay in the bed.
I don't do anything in the morning for at least the first 15 minutes of my day. And so what I do when I wake up, I'll pick up my phone and I go to YouTube and I listen to a morning prayer off YouTube. Then from that morning prayer, I listen to something motivational that's encouraging to keep you fighting. And then I listen to affirmations. All three of these items is on YouTube. And so I don't move or check no messages, reply to no text, no nothing until those three things are done for me in the morning time. Now I go on about my day, and then at night I make sure that I at least give myself 15 minutes to exercise. After my exercise, I listen to another night prayer, and I listen to more meditation or affirmations. And I have implemented reading at least 10 minutes of a book. And that keeps me motivated and going. So because listening to those things is going to change your subconscious of those negative thoughts that you have about yourself anyway. So the more you put positive in you, the more it's going to erase those negative, and you're going to end up having a complete identity switch so you can have self-control. But if you don't take the time to give yourself at least 15 minutes a day, then you're going to keep going around the same circle of these things. So that's just how I manage to handle me, because once I'm out that bed, it's like run and go, and you're not gonna stop until you come back home that night and it's 10 o'clock. You're like, whoo, Lord, it's 10 o'clock. So you have to figure out how to give yourself at least, to me, 15 to 30 minutes a day to self-reflect and self-develop.
People say it right, that my big brother is my support person, aka Too Sweet said my mom is my support, but now that she is 75, I don't want her to take on my burdens and need to find another support person. Houston said I lay in the bed also. Love it, love it, love it. And reading is one of mine as well. And I think what we need to understand that we all are individual people.
Mm-hmm.
Write in your journal for at least a half an hour, whether you want to ride a stationary bike for 45 minutes, pray, play the piano, or work on a TV for 1 hour. Make it yours. Personalize
Mm-hmm.
Personalize it. Don't do what we say do, because that's what works for us. You might not be somebody that want to work out.
Right.
So don't make yours into a failure. Make it measurable.
Another thing that I think helps a lot is making vision boards,
Yes.
and also achievement boards.
Hmm.
That's really, really good to help you stay focused and deal with self-care. I got like you, I didn't know how much we was like, because I got a whiteboard and a bulletin, two bulletin boards in my kitchen. I
Right.
got one in my bedroom, and I got another little poster in the living room. So it's like I'm surrounded to
Hmm.
keep myself under control.
Hmm.
And so when I go out in the public, I'm able to think back on those things I have wrote and I got written to control myself, where I don't allow things to affect me, where I'm going off and I'm triggered so bad. And then when somebody do trigger me, I'm able to say, well, that really bothered me. Because sometimes when we are triggered, the person is not intentionally doing it. So you can say, well, that what you said or what you did bothered me, it triggered me. Then they can explain themselves why they did it. Then once you realize the reason behind they did it, and you be like, oh, okay, that wasn't what I thought it was. Because sometimes things are in our head as assumptions and not truth.
Right. And AKA Two Sweet said, I repeat to myself, if God is for me, who could be against me? No weapons formed against me shall prosper. What the devil means for bad, God will make it good. Let me tell y'all something, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, okay? Be very, very honest. I'm gonna tell y'all what I do. I stop blaming it on the devil.
Because the devil can't do nothing that you don't allow him to do.
Because the thing is, what we still have to understand, the enemy is out there, but you have choices.
And you have power over the enemy.
And you have power over the enemy. So I think if we remove ourselves, and most people don't want to remove yourself and do the will of God, we want to keep blaming other entities for our misbehavior. So I think for me, I have to ask God to remove me.
Mm. That's exactly what we have to do.
Remove me. Remove me out the way.
Mm-hmm.
Remove that mind, that mindset that I have. Remove me so I can be better. And that's what we still have to understand, that sometimes we are our own enemy.
Yeah, it's the enemy inside.
Right. I'm just getting in the groove of self-love, self-control, etc. It's so hard coming from a place of depression. Brooklyn May,
Oh yeah.
totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for giving us that information, because it is hard. It's
It's
hard.
very
So
it
hard.
is very hard. Yeah.
But you
And one of
know, keep going.
mm-hmm.
Keep going. Because guess what? Manage yourself wherever you were. If you were at 0, as long as you got up to 5 from that depression, guess what? That's a win.
Yeah.
But keep moving yourself up. And even if you go back a little bit, it's okay. Just know that you're going to keep moving up. One thing that I tell people that suffer from mental health diagnosis and things like that, it's going to be a process. I don't like to say it's going to be hard. It's going to be a process. And in that, you're going to have some roads.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're going to have directional paralysis, and directional paralysis is you don't know which road to take. And you're going to be paralyzed because you're confused in the mental health state, and then you're confused about what everybody else is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we need to cut those naysayers off so we can make the right path specifically for us and us only.
I battled depression, and I had to come to the truth of that. I did to build myself up. Psalms. It was a verse in Psalms that I am fearfully and marvelously made. Marvelous are that works, and that my soul knoweth right well. Every day I repeated that Bible verse to myself until I dug myself out of that whatever it was I was in. I know it was depression, but people didn't even know I had it because I covered it so good when I was out on the outside. Another Bible verse that I spoke to myself consistently was, create in me a clean heart, O Lord, and renew a right spirit within me.
Within me.
Yes. So those are two verses that literally saved my life. And it was only two, but but I repeated them every single day until I got to a place where I no longer believed that I wasn't enough or I wasn't good enough and that no one would love me. So I had to meditate and just keep saying that, because I had to realize who I am in Christ and the power that He's given me to fight, keep fighting. Because the thing about it is, we're trying to fight our own battles, and
Yes.
they're not meant for us to fight. And we can quote Bible verses all day long, but you got to make them things personal to you and your situation and where you are. Can't nobody fight these fights for you. You have to fight it, and you have to figure out what's inside me that I can build strength on to keep going another day. Every day is not going to be a bed of roses, but I promise you, you're going to get to a place where you're going to continue to, one day you're just going to click and you're going to get it, and you will never go back to that state again. I am a living witness. You can overcome it, but baby, you're going to have to fight like you ain't never fought before. You're going to have to step outside that boat, and you're going to have to know that you're going to have to hope against hope and know that God is who He say He is. Because I promise you, He is just that. I am that I am. So you put what you want behind that I am, and I'll guarantee you that God's going to be your comfort. He's going to be your strength. He's going to be your confidant. If you seeking love, He's your lover, your father, your friend, your whatever. I promise you, that's exactly what He would be. But you got to be a trust in yourself and fight until you can just keep fighting. And when they say cast all your cares, that's exactly what that is. You giving Him everything, and you allowing Him to destroy the person you was, not destroy it, but change, creating me a new heart. But also, the old creature passes away and the new one comes. That's literally what God does. The person you was 10 years ago, you will look back and say, I'm totally new. And even people be like, Rhonda, I can't believe how much you've grown. Because I didn't talk to people. I didn't deal with people. I had no interest in people. And it amazes me that I'm on here with Judah, because I never would have did this 10 years ago. You couldn't have made me do this 10 years ago. But I learned how to make God my I am. And I know that I learned how to make Him my I am. And in making Him my I am, it made me make myself my I am, if that makes sense.
Because we were made in His image. Why not be your own I am?
Yeah.
We were made in His image. So I think what we need to realize that we need to first acknowledge. Mm-hmm. And what the action is after that acknowledgement. But then again, can we make an application? And the one thing is, like I tell people, why don't we apply pressure to ourselves?
Because it costs too much.
But guess what? You got to apply pressure to a piece of coal to get a diamond.
But see, that diamond has some type of value you want, but you first gonna have to find the value in yourself to understand the pressure that you wouldn't have put yourself through. But if you don't have value, you're not finna work for it. But that diamond, you already know got value, and it's gonna bring you some type of glory, baby. So, but the same way you see that diamond, you have to see yourself. And when you had a life where you just been beat down and broke down and taken advantage of and hurt and molested and abused and neglected, you don't see that value in yourself. And it takes some time for you to see it and see the bigger picture of who God created you to be. And once you get a certain age, you can't blame people for your issues no more. This is a wilderness that you decide to stay in the wilderness or in Egypt or wherever. You have the power to come out of that, but you have to first get a seed planted or whatever to see your value and know that you are just as valued as that diamond.
So everybody get out your pen and paper right now and write down value. Mm-hmm. Write down value. What is your value?
Yeah.
And do you feel like you are valuable at this time? That's important. Are you? Mm-hmm. And I want to go ahead and put us out here because I think we have some great people on here. Is if you want Rhonda or myself to come and speak in your state or in your city, definitely DM us. We are motivational speakers. Rhonda got journal. I got some books and things coming up too as well. I got things coming up. Like Christy said, I got shows coming up. Don't act like I know. So I want you guys to put it out there if you like the information, because basically Rhonda does podcasts and I do podcasting too as well. I have 110 episodes. And this is good information for us all. But when we come together and bring this to a mass of people coming off of biblical perspectives, this is just food for the soul.
Yeah.
For the soul. AKA, we said, another thing Mom tells me, if someone tries to dim your light, tell them to put on their shades so you can shine bright.
I know you right.
Okay?
Because that's what we're supposed to be, the light. And people are drawn to light. Darkness is drawn to light. Yeah. So never dim your light for nobody else. Maybe you better kick it up a notch. Blind, they tell. That's what I say.
And we are available to speak, whether it's a Zoom call, whether it's whatever. Start setting up little women ministries, man ministries, whatever you have. Come on, let's get this information out, because this is so detrimental to our souls right now. And this is an important piece that needs to be given. We need to be changing our mindset toward that spiritual level and looking at the higher conscious in which we were gifted with. What does that mean? That means that we need to get better.
People want healing. People are tired of hurting. People are tired of being tired, okay? But in order to be tired of being tired, then you're going to have to do some work to get out of tiredness, because it's not going to come just because you say, Lord, I'm tired. No, you're going to have to work for this thing. You're going to have to get out the boat and walk on the water.
And
all.
Everybody that do talk to you is not going to be in your corner. Let's just say that.
No.
Genuineness from people just out to get a big dollar.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to even leave family because you got to get out the boat.
So the important thing is acknowledging. You acknowledge, you make an acceptance. And then after that, make application. Make it about application. And how are you
acceptance and application?
Maintenance of your life.
Yep. And that was a good, and now the 3 A's: acknowledge, acceptance, and application.
I call it
Triple A, yeah. But it's so true.
Acknowledge, accept, and apply.
Yeah. That's true.
And watch this. Let me show you how you can remember this. Let me ask you something. We all wake up in the morning, right? I know it's going to be a bad analogy, but I'm going to say it anyway. Guess what? First thing we think about is brushing our teeth. Acknowledge your breath is stinking. We do this check. Don't we do this check? That's accepting that it's hot.
Oh my goodness.
The application is actually brushing your teeth so you can get better breath, correct?
Oh my God.
Apply that to your life. Come on. We know we've been broken. Yeah. Let's get it real. Yeah. Everybody is not healed. That's reality. People are going and killing themselves and doing different things every day.
That's true.
For Rhonda and myself. How can we bring forth the message so these people can heal? So these people can have the tools, the wellness toolbox. How?
That's true.
How?
That's true.
I'm just saying, it's so common, and sometimes we need to be relatable. And how, like I told you, me and Rhonda, we straight out of Mississippi. We just give you that genuine Southern hospitality.
And only known each other for about, what, 3 weeks? 4 weeks? 3 or 4 weeks?
But I think what you need to understand, genuineness is all about, because we're too big on hopping on the bandwagon with people that are money driven.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of this, that, and the third, and they give you absolutely nothing.
What you gonna do to me? What you gonna pay me? Yeah, that's true.
Our thing is we want to be able to give you things that we can keep spreading to the world each and every day.
Mhm.
Now understand, if you fly us in, that's what it is. If you put us up in a hotel, that's what it is. But I think we want to get the message out more than getting the finance part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most people are not like that. They want you to subscribe to their books. Hey, all that's gonna come. But you got to understand what you're investing in, because the one thing is, if you invest in the wrong thing, that can set you back so far.
Yeah.
And the one thing I know, I had to keep investing in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the best investment that I've ever purchased. Look at this now. You know, this is the product of investing in yourself.
That's true.
It's a greater purpose. And we're not here to sell you a fly-by-night program and stuff like that. That's not how it is. And most people give you that one side all.
And it don't.
It don't. We all got troubles. Each an individual person has troubles. But if we work collectively together, how can we solve each other's and be a support system and have accountability for each other?
That's true.
And that's what you call humankind.
Mm-hmm.
As I tell people, close your eyes each day. Stop looking at race. Stop looking at classism. Stop looking at sexism. Stop looking at all of that, because the thing is, if we flip our bodies inside out, guess what? Only thing you see is muscle. How are we going to start building muscles with each other? How are we going to start strengthening each other? So let's flip ourselves inside out each day. We don't see color. We don't see color. We see humankind. And in the humankind, we see muscle. And muscles you need to build. You need to exercise each day. And exercise, I mean, what's that wellness toolbox look like?
Yep.
I'm not talking about nothing physical. I'm talking about stuff mentally. Because I have a lot of physical people work out, and they just mentally just as weak as all that door. So you have to understand, this is a threefold thing: physically, mentally, and spiritually. And if we haven't said anything tonight, is the trigger action plan is acknowledge, accept, and apply.
Uh-huh.
Do we have any questions in the studio audience? I'm sorry, Ron, I know I'm just,
No, you're fine.
I go in.
You're fine. You're fine.
What do we have to say before we leave here today?
Well, my weekly jewel
You said nugget. Go ahead.
for you is understand the power that's inside you. Never underestimate who you are. No matter what life has no matter what we have allowed life to give us, no matter what our childhood said we were negative, no matter what someone in a relationship made us feel, or no matter how bad someone took advantage of you, know the power that you possess inside of you. No matter how low you feel, you have the power to raise yourself up, because that's the power that Christ has given us inside. Every single thing you need is inside of you. Your purpose, even though your purpose may contribute to so much pain, it is worth you discovering it, because it's your purpose that's going to bring you to your platform, and your platform is going to have you in places that you never imagined. But it all begins with knowing who you are and the power that you possess inside. Never underestimate the power of you.
Thank you. Never underestimate the power of you. But I know some of these might have triggered some people. And once you listen to this once again, but we do not have the SAMHSA National Helpline, which is 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-HELP, and that's 4357. 1-800-662-4357. If you know anyone that has, we have suicide crisis lines and things like that too, please assist them in reaching out, because sometimes they don't want to make the next move.
Right.
And if you have to be very, have empathy with them. Because number one is we never know what that person is going through.
Right.
Or what they have been going through. But get them to the next step of moving them forward from not doing the necessary things as committing suicide.
True.
And that's one thing, is having empathy. Having empathy. We don't know. We don't know. And what we don't know, we don't know.
That's true.
Are there any other questions, any other comments? As we leave here, we want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to have this vulnerable conversation. It's complicated. What are your triggers? We understand it's complicated. But what are we doing about it with the complication? Are we smoothing the complication? Are we still doing what we're going to do?
Have to make a choice.
Got to make a choice. It's the year of decisions.
Yep. The year of decisions, yes.
Are we still going to be stuck in 2021?
I mean, this is my year of the new baby. Everything about me new.
I love it. But what we have to realize in this, that number one, it starts with self.
Every day. Every single day. It's a decision that you make for self. What are you worth?
And you can't be no good to anybody else unless you're good with yourself.
That's true.
And a lot of us go get married, have kids, and do other things for fulfillment. What if you're not fulfilled?
Maybe there's something for next week.
Well, look,
what is your fulfillment?
What is your fulfillment? What is your we're here every Sunday from 5 p.m. Central Standard Time and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Miss Rhonda do have a podcast, and she have a journal too as well. Did your podcast drop the episode?
It hasn't dropped yet.
Okay.
I need to check on that, but my podcast is Dinner and Dialogue, and I do have some videos on YouTube, and I have some on my Dinner and Dialogue Facebook page, and I have a Jules Mentoring Facebook page, and Instagram is Jules Mentoring LLC as well. So you can contact me on those platforms. And like he said, I do have my own self-written journal called Journey Along the Way, Becoming Authentically Me. The journals are $12 and $3 shipping and handling fee. I will mail anywhere that people want. Actually, somebody on here bought one last week. So it's my own personal journey to becoming authentically me and learning my value and why I had to go through what I had to go through in life.
And if any of you guys want to join on DM me, because I am actually writing a book and I need some studies type of stuff, and it's called The Pressures of My Sin. So if you really want to be a part of those short stories that's in this book, please DM me, and everything will be kept confidential and everything. We're going to have about 20 short stories of all races, all colors, nationalities, and everything, and start doing some self-helping of what we need to do. So if you want to be a part of that, DM me. We can set up a Zoom meeting so we can talk about it. Everything is kept confidential. Your name will not be used, and that's a project that I'm working on too as well, because we need to understand the pressures of how we're completely going to sin after those pressures too as well. Thank you guys for providing us the opportunity to be vulnerable. You are more than welcome, Brooklyn Babe 561. But actually share. If you like it, share. If you like it, share, like, subscribe, and support. And it's all free. It's all free. This is free because we need to start healing the land. Okay?
Woo.
So tell a friend, tell a foe, tell your spouse, heck, tell everyone. We'll see you next week at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, this is Sunday Jewels on the Rise. And on Tuesday nights, we do Wants, Needs, and Desires on Podbean app. And that's the next topic for Tuesday night, which is on the Podbean app, and we'll be on there for about 30 minutes. Okay? So love you guys. Agape love all around the world.
Yes.
Keep moving forward and start applying pressure.
Okay.
See you later and have a good night.
Bye.